We're Brew Minds. We're here with Frank Seta from the Lucky Turtle in Finneytown. And it's summer and people are going on vacation, so we're here to talk about travel beer, about what beer from Cincinnati to bring when you go on a road trip or when you go fly somewhere, and how to package that beer the best to make sure it gets there okay. Does that cover it?
Yeah, I think that about covers it. And when we're talking about this, at least from the start, what we're talking about is kind of more your go-to beers. So we're talking about beers that you can kind of get pretty much all the time, or some of the more extended seasonals, not like your dream beers. We will get to that, but we're going to start out with the beers that you think kind of best represent the area when you're traveling with friends or going on vacation.
Now we're talking about Cincinnati only beer.
I would say Greater Cincinnati, but then again, that launches into a whole topic of what is Greater Cincinnati.
See, I've been tussling with this for a couple of days now, and I was thinking Mystic Mama.
Well, I figured no, that's
That's-
Ohio.
we
I did
That's
see a lot of comments with
Yeah.
Mystic Mama.
for sure. There's a lot of good stuff you can get and package in general, but I mean, usually when I traveled, I was always going to grab something, typically from Cincinnati, whatever that was at various points. There's a lot more now. I'm not
Oh, yeah.
traveling like I was, but even then, there was still stuff to grab. I
Yeah.
did not necessarily not grab a Mystic Mama or a Fathead's Headhunter or a White Raj or some other Ohio stuff, but yeah, you can keep it within the context, I think, of Northern Kentucky, the brews there. What's in Cincinnati now. I mean, obviously today there's a can releases, more things available as far as the more exotic things, but even just on the market. And I mean, this was not, a few years ago, I wouldn't have had this to choose from, but
A few weeks ago.
well, yeah, this one particularly, but even blank slate in general. You could take Fork in the Road, sure. I mean,
So Fork in the
I
Road
pick
was
one.
my
I
first
pick one,
thought.
sure. Yeah, I go with a Fork in the Road for a travel beer to take to somebody and be like, hey, this is a cool one to here it is. That's a cool one.
Admittedly, I did pick Pale Mill. I'm hoping it'll be on. I think it's going to be on
I
through
think a few months at
August.
least,
Yeah, through
yeah.
August, early September. Um, that was one of mine. So do you want to start with your list and
I didn't
why
really-
why you chose them?
I didn't really come up with three. I was thinking Mystic Mama, but that one's out. So I would say Fork in the Road. That was my default. But then I was like, well, it's a red IPA. I'd rather get a straight IPA that I think more people might appreciate if I walk into a random brewery and say, hey, you guys are real cool with me. Here's some from Cincinnati. So I would still go back to Fork in the Road. Then would be my top. Also, I mean, I absolutely love that. It's one of my favorite local beers that's around all the time. Um, Stretching outside of Cincinnati, like I say, Captain Stardust.
Right.
It's just up the road in Dayton. It's one
Not
of the
too far.
best
It's getting down this
saisons.
way now. It's getting down
Yeah, I
this
mean,
way in the
they're
distribution circuit.
BC's and Cappies both have them on the shelves. A couple other places.
And
Craft
they're starting to do
Point.
some variants of that too.
Yeah, the
There's
Blood
a
Orange
bunch.
just came out this week. Do you guys have Captain Stardust at Brentwood yet?
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
They haven't ventured down there and haven't pursued.
But I'm sure it'll be
that.
anytime soon now.
Yeah, sure they'll be getting around.
And for a third one, I'd probably want to go something a little different. What's a good packaged porter or stout locally?
Oh well, you've got Taps Ale House. They've got the Kaluber Cut, or
That comes out. Yeah, that's out one.
yeah.
yeah, that it's a little more seasonal, but
Chocolatey flavor. Yeah, I mean the coconut.
mhm.
I mean, honestly, if
Flavor.
it was wintertime, I'd say Ribis.
Oh, if you're talking porter, like Proby Porter from Old
There you
Firehouse,
go.
like
That's a good one.
that's one of their, I think, most
And hopefully
solid.
Fig Leaf will can Ponder
Mhm.
soon.
That's pretty good. So I think if I was to take some other ones and go, just what I see selling on the market here, and just like killing it, I'd have to take some bubbles down. I'd have to take bubbles
Yeah.
somewhere. It's freaking.
And I mean, that's
that
definitely
can,
kind
man,
of a
is
little
like-
unique.
It is different. It's got it, and it's got its own little doodad to the rosé ale versus what was a cider and da da da.
Mhm.
But I mean, just from those in cans, man, those are just instant
And
crush.
ciders are blowing up right now. It's a really tasty
instant
beer.
crush for a local one that's a little off the. We have our cider thing going on, around, but that one has just seemed to really launch comparative even to the other Rheingeist ones. Like people won't even know about the other ones. You can talk about bubbles, and that's pretty much it. Where people are on point with a local sort of ale cider, wherever they're going with that, thing there. So I'd have to throw bubbles in there. I still think if you're getting, well, so if we're only talking like packaged can though,
For right now, we are. We'll get to
Yeah,
that.
I'd have to throw in some. I mean, I like some of the tart, ale side of things, sour, whatever, however far you want to discuss that piece. But I have to throw some urban in there. They've got a bunch of just their normal package stuff. Key Punches out right now.
Pickle
Thin,
just came out.
or the pickle just came out. That one would be a little extreme, maybe in an idea of taking something unique from the area that I just want to be like, okay, guys, you got to taste it. The pickle goes up.
I mean,
Why
Fire Iron
not?
right now is a killer.
Fire Iron is pretty tasty. I just was sharing that around a couple spots last night, and I carried the last few days. I had some cans and just a unique banana guava, just a little different. Call it what it is. I thought it was a good something fun. So they have several there. Even some of their standard bottle stuff that's been out that's maybe a little seasonal, but a more regular attendee.
I'm a huge fan of their wild IPA, the phrenology. Like, a little bummed to know that they're going more into like the fruit beer, that sort of aisle, and getting a little bit more away from the wilds. But it's been explained to me thoroughly, and you have to respect the market for what it is. But the thing is, like, they are killing it with like the real fruit and everything. I've with the release of Fire Iron, I loved like seeing the beer nerds' heads explode, that like thinking that it was like a hazy IPA when it
It's just a
couldn't
hazy
be.
beer.
It's just a hazy beer. Like,
It's just hazy in
a
general.
fruit
Yeah.
bomb.
yeah, you pump
Yeah.
like hundreds of pounds of actual fruit.
Hazy
into
was
it.
around before IPAs even.
I'd say for me, like the go-to stuff that you can get right now, Pale Ale's in there just because, like, to me, one, Blank Slate needs a lot more love than they get. But I loved it when it first came out on draft, and it's just such a good, easy drinking kind of lawnmower beer that's consistently phenomenal. But it's got a lot of that, a lot of fruit and kind of aroma from those mosaic hops, and it really kind of comes out nice. And I think it's something that you can get that kind of shows what Cincinnati can do, but isn't too aggressive. And then for my other two, I think you have to throw in Mad Tree's Lift. It's kind of the gold standard for Kolsch's these days, and I can't even. What did Mike say they were selling in the tap room? Like what, 2,000 pints of it like a day on a
I think
weekend or
that's
something like
yeah,
that.
I think Friday or Saturday they hit around 2,000, but it's a couple hundred a day no matter what.
But for the amount of which that they make it, and for it to be so consistent and so good, and Kolsch is a really easy style to get wrong. Like, people can really mess that up, and for them to be able to make it so well and so consistently, it's a beer that I have pride in giving to my friends and saying, hey, here's a really easy drinking beer. They make fucking millions of it, and it's still consistently good every time. And then I think, call me a poser or whatever, I think you have to take Rhinegeist Truth. It is the IPA of the city. There's an argument to be made for Punch and Psychopathy, but Truth, they have such a recognizable brand. They've already are kind of known nationally, and it's a very easy thing to show up to a party in another state and knock it out of the park.
You can even go on just a level. Those other beers are fine. There's a lot of other solid IPAs from all the brands. I mean, everybody can kind of put something out. A Mystic Mama, Headhunter, multiple award-winning Headhunter. I mean, just a crazy crusher. But when you look at the Cincinnati market and you look at that can number sold, and it is way over there, Fair enough. It speaks for itself, and there you go.
You can't argue with IRI data.
It is, and then you can say this, that, or the other thing about how much of whatever's put out, right? Pale ales, IPAs, that when you have a beer that sells that much, I mean, there you go. You just can't argue with that. That is what it is,
Eric Smith, one of the founders of Cheesy's BS, he is adamant that PSA is a must, that we should take everywhere.
That is a really damn fine session.
Absolutely, I can't argue with that. I like the label too. It's just I like the label on that one. I think Mad Tree's gonna pop off with some this conversation in a year from now, next summer. You're gonna have some. I think there's going to be some different conversations on the table. Mad Tree's going to run out their their tart series, however they're going to end up doing that. Shade being kind of one of those, and wherever they run with it. But that passion fruit tart ale, done. I'll tell you what, that will be on the list. Nobody's going to deny that one on that list.
Entropic.
So do you think
from an
with
IPA, I do stick with some of the more, if like the lighter, I mean, I did say fork in the road from a representation of thing. If we're talking travel beers, like summertime, we kind of picked a few summertime because we're sitting here right now with these, but when you expand it out, and we'll talk about some of these in a
That's
minute.
Like I said, in winter, you can bring a can of Rubus.
Well, right, for sure. So
Which,
you get outside of
beer,
that.
I don't really enjoy it, but I know a lot of people love it, and I can bring that somewhere and people would go crazy for it.
Right, that's one that sells. It comes in, it goes. I have to take it just because, yeah, I'm like, hey, everybody enjoys this. It's maybe my jam some days or not, but here it is. But I think that one, that passion fruit tart ale one, Matry, if that's the one if they end up going with that one.
Can you quick check the video? I just actually got a wealth of comments, and it looks like our video might have frozen. I don't know if you need to restart it or if we're having that.
The voices still come out there.
Yeah, the voices are still happening. Oh, Danny Spears wants to know what sort of starch you use on that hat bill.
No, bro, this is all straight West Coast, San Diego. Buddy, this is straight stone straight, buddy. So so we got the locals.
Oh, it looks like we're back. Yep.
Oh, there it is.
There we go.
So we got the locals. What?
Well, my next question on that. What would be your top 3 dream Cincinnati travel beers? Like the ones where like, and this actually will help us set up talking about like how do you get these beers everywhere. But the ones either ones from the past or ones that are hard to get these days. What would you take to blow somebody's mind?
So the first thing you could probably do, and you mentioned in your list there, and it's just like if you look at local beers, and if you could do a search and pick certain ones, the nut job is definitely Blue Melvin. I can't disagree with that. If you're just picking like some far out, kind of go for it. That you even have bottles in general, it's just whatever. So yeah, so fair enough. Dream side on that. I like some of the 50 West barrel stuff, man. I still have a few bottles from 2-3 years ago. The 10 and 2.
Yeah, try one of those.
That was delicious.
You barley wine people.
I just don't understand. It's not even my super jam. It's just I dig that. I particularly dig that. I dig that one.
Okay, co-pilot then.
I still have one.
I have this few.
Max Fram, I have one.
I have some from batch 1 still.
Yeah, that's the one.
I got 2 from
that's that
one.
one. Yeah. So.
Well, anyway, I think you have to throw a Chicao in there. So what?
For sure.
Just regular Chicao, or is there a Chicao variant?
Shoot, that'd be another one. I'd pull the masses and say, what is the number one? They put. I don't even know. We'd have to ask. I don't even know how many have been out at this point. There's got to be 20 to 30 variants, right? I'm not even being joking. I'm not trying to be. Just saying. There's probably like 20 of them, right? Even more.
But you got to go BA Chicao, because did you hear the one back?
That's true. They did one back. So yes, we got to get props on that. Yes.
I'll love Jason.
I'll love
yes for sure.
And I'm really
and
serious.
Honestly, there you go. If you're going to pick the ones that have, again from a more rare standpoint, then yeah, for sure. Shoot, who else? I mean, the high series, some of the highs do their thing. That's especially if you're going to try and get it within context of getting it, when it's out and getting that drank within, X days. Not that it's not good after X days, just if you're trying to shoot for that.
I'd have to go, I got to jump in and say Mount Carmel's Ardennes Quad.
Yeah,
that was
that was incredible when that first came out.
Oh yeah.
5 years ago.
I remember I was homebrewing one day and I had gotten a full growler of the quad the day before and forgot what ABV it was and proceeded to drink the entire growler myself.
So you get 4 on the floor.
Yeah, no, definitely ended up on a couch. Woke up that evening, not sure exactly.
Like,
Tom's got 100 of those stories. What you're talking about. Side note.
I'm just did you get your beer into the fermenter or did you pass it?
Oh no! Fortunately, I had 3 other guys that we were all homebrewing together. They kind of took over the process at that point, because I was more of a hindrance than a help at that point.
So curious on the far out beer. So we have a lot of stuff that's been coming out. There's been a lot of or several can releases. Listerman's been definitely heading that surge on some of those can releases. Street Side's done done one, I guess, getting ready to do the Chillin' can. Urban's had several bottle releases with variant bottles, but even then, just, if you explore out what's on draft, I mean, shoot, I mean, if we're going to talk about, I mean, we can't, or nobody's always doing cans, unfortunately, growlers, but getting a bottle, on a growler, and that could be talked about. I mean, talk about trying to package a growler and send one of those. What's that vibe like? So, if you have to go into some of the stuff you can only, not even, that wasn't even packaged. Oh man, I mean, I'd have to throw a wood-burn hammer in there for some of the for the new kids on the block.
Or the lactose-low peaches.
They had some other hammer from the
for
one
the
that
vibe,
yeah, well, then from with the masses or at least a more wider berth that people have probably tasted and know about. Gotta throw hammer on there. Some other new kids on the block, street sides, raspberry beret.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, man. I've had some other good raspberry Berliners that are very bright like that, but
or their Sabra. That's been one of my favorite.
Sure. Yes, we could go on. I could go on throwing out those little ones, but even like some of the new kids, that are kind of hitting around.
I mean, Taft's Independent.
Yeah.
When that first came out, that was incredible. Like, that was one of the best barrel-aged stouts from Cincinnati I've ever had. Unfortunately, I didn't get enough of that, so I don't have any more. But and I have 2 or 3 friends who have the box, but it's empty. And so we're like, oh, let's go find a beer in the basement. I'm like, oh, you still got some.
Oh, they're trolling you.
Exactly.
I might be willing to throw their Nellies in as like a regular beer as well, a regular go-to beer.
Sure.
Like that's
you could easily make a Cincinnati 12-pack. I mean, you guys used the Cincinnati 6-pack thing, right? So, Mike Stewart, where are you at?
That was my post.
Was that your post? Was that no? He was the one doing. He was doing the thing over at over in Clifton, the bar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he did his name over there anyway.
Oh yeah, the Brass Tap.
Brass Tap. Yeah. Sorry, man. I had like 5,000 things going through my head there, but so yeah, I mean, really, you could do a Cincinnati 12-pack now in cans and not even like whisper it and still do an 18-pack. Why not? I mean, I think you could legitimately put it together. It's good to say that. I think there's a lot of nice product out there that gives a solid representation, easy drinkers. We can get some big dogs in there if you want some high ABV stuff. But
another UA beer that I have to throw in, strawberry margarita squeeze box.
What did they bottle? Was that in the bottle?
It was bottles.
I've still got 2.
Oh, I could try it. Man, all right. We know there might have to be a TV timeout while that happens for sure.
But I mean, if we're talking about growlers, and it's not too hard to package a howler at least.
Absolutely.
Aqua Cream.
That's Aqua Cream, yeah. So yeah, we're
talking
about
totally.
We talked about that earlier.
Totally.
Yeah, if you want to talk about a banger on the market, that thing, man, it goes on draft and it's a wrap. It's done.
Here's a question. It's a little bit of a tangent, but why do you guys think the Crowler has not caught on with a lot of the different breweries around here? Like Braxton does it, Rheingeist does it, I think, and then there's a couple bottle shops in town that do it.
Well,
but
that's about it. That's not. I was wondering about. That's a side note. No, the law says glass. If you're not a brewery, then it's glass. It doesn't matter what kind of glass. I mean, they can bring in a 64-ounce mason jar. I can fill that up as long as I can screw that thing on and put a piece of tape around it. They can walk out the door with that.
But they're not going to be able to do crowlers?
It's metal.
It's metal. It's just metal.
Breweries can.
Breweries.
But nobody else can fill metal.
Yeah.
So I
Interesting.
think
When
somebody
did that
got
happen?
It's always been
that way. There are folks that were doing it. They're going through some trials and tribulations. I've heard on the thing. Nothing. I don't know much past that. But anyway, there's. I love crowlers. I think the idea is very cool. I think some other breweries probably will get on it. Why not? I don't. Is there,
I think
I don't know.
it's another piece of equipment you have to buy that's expensive.
Right.
You
But
can
that's
fill
a
a
one-time
growler
cost.
with a plastic tube,
Yeah.
right? You can get a $10 plastic tube and start filling growlers. The crowler machine is another cost, and honestly, it's just not as good for beer as filling with the plastic tube or using a Pegasus.
Oh, I was gonna say
For
it's,
sure,
it's
if you want to
still
go to the far end, yeah.
it's still better
Right.
though than just a regular growler. Even just like putting up to a tap, it's still better.
Well, if
than
you're
that.
using a hose, no, I mean, so I fill growlers. I do the CO2 purge. I use a
Yeah.
hose in the thing. I'm not doing the Pegasus system. That was from
Right.
expense wise. I couldn't really
Yeah, those are not cheap
Yeah.
systems.
feel that vibe, from I'm a bar, not just that thing. So from expense wise, it didn't go with what I was doing. But you know, I've sealed up growlers of beers, like it'll be at the tail end of something. I'm like, oh, let me pull up usually a stout or something bigger. Man, I pulled out a growler. That thing was like 4 months old. For, you know, back at the corner, like, oh, hey, what's that back there? You know, pull that sucker open, poured it.
Right. And I know people have held on to crowlers as well for quite a long time.
For sure.
Without problem either.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's all about, you know, when it gets sealed, when we seal ours, we put it on there, we get that tape on there. And I mean, I'm sure that tape is like, you know, some people do the vacuum sealing, or not the heat shrink wrap thing.
Right.
That's always good. If you see somebody put their tape on, I mean, it's good to get it nice and tight and get that seal in there and, you know, not cranking on, but get it tight in there. Man, they'll last even off a regular growler fill. Maybe not without a tube fill. I mean, that can get a little
I think that hits to it more. It's more like the CO2 purge and then the making sure your seal is tight. And a lot of places aren't even putting like the tape and stuff on there, which should be standard practice. But
yes, I would say so.
Well, speaking of packaging, like we all travel and we've gone to like a bunch of different beer cities and everything. What recommendations would you have for people? We'll start with driving. Like if you're driving and you're taking beer, like what's the best way to like package it or make sure that it kind of gets there safely?
Grab a semi. For some people, you know who I'm talking about, you guys. The massive. No, I've been there. I mean, the back end of the thing was, you know, easy ride.
But I mean, honestly, what I normally do is just get like a 12-pack of bottles, you know, a 12-pack case of bottles, and stick my cans or bottles in there and put that in the trunk. You know, just trying to make sure they don't roll around. You don't really need to be careful about how you package them too much for just driving somewhere.
Yeah, bring some boxes.
Yeah, keep them out of the sun.
Or craft some while you're there. Yeah.
If you spend the night somewhere, bring them inside overnight. Don't leave them in the car.
Do you think what do you think the threshold is for people for? I mean, I saw like Cam Harris and you know some of the other bigger traders that they've got like cases that are specifically made with like the foam and stuff. At what point do you need to jump into that?
I think that's for flying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I was gonna fly and bring a lot of beer back, I would do that.
Yeah, it's a different.
Or I've shipped myself beer from San Diego before.
Mm-hmm.
But driving, you don't need to worry about that. I don't think because it's not. You don't have to worry about handling when it's sitting in your trunk or your back seat.
Well, you do when you open that trunk and some jostled around and some shit falls on the ground. You do have to package. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like if you go, because you'll go out to the bottle shop to buy one, you go out walking around, your body done. All of a sudden, hey, there's some bottle of this, oh that. Hey, let's run it back to the car real quick. And then next thing you know, there's 12 bottles loose sitting around, you know, whatever, you know, things, and it's like, oh shoots, bro, you know. So you just get a box or grab one from when you're at some place. But the key thing is definitely at least remember a box or something to put them in, because they will, I'm sure, again, you've seen people post the pictures of the liquid on the ground and shatters amongst
and nobody wants that on their seats.
Make sure it goes on the bottom of the pile and doesn't accidentally shift.
Right. Also,
we have that happen going to the beach and back from the beach.
If you don't know how to pack your car, well, then that's a life challenge, life hack. Look that one up, how to pack a car, I guess. But, you know.
Well, speaking of buying at the breweries and everything, what do you guys feel about when you get cold bottles? Maybe you're not buying the bottles until a couple days before you leave or the day before you leave. Like, I mean, do you worry too much about like making sure that you know the temperature stays
number
the same?
One? Never worry about beer. That's just number one.
If I can keep it cold, I will keep it cold for as long as possible. But if you're going on a 12-hour drive, it's going to be almost impossible, or at least a giant pain in the ass, to keep that at 40, you know? So you just got to accept, look, it's going to warm up. The majority of beer we drink is warm at some point in its lifespan between when it leaves the brewery and gets to your fridge.
Right.
You don't want to abuse it. As long as you're not abusing it, getting a little bit of refrigerator to a room temperature kind of thing is not going to be a big vibe. Sometimes, it might be the last bottle on the shelf and it was back in the back of the cooler and it's some crazy imperial stout Let me tell you, bro, it's gonna be okay. Just take it out, set it down, give it a few minutes, and go ahead and put it in your wipe it off, and then forget about it, and it'll be fine. Like, you know, in another year or two, whenever you want to open it again, it's gonna be okay. You know, but abusing it, heat temperature wise, you don't want that.
Yeah,
but
like it's 95 out. Don't leave it sitting in a hot car today.
If it's something, or if it's maybe, if there's something just super special about the beer, if it's something far out, you know, and it's already chilled, and you don't really want to undo that piece of temperature thing, sure, well, then you're getting a cooler or you're getting something insulated
And you're
some
stopping for ice 2 or 3
and
times.
sure.
How far you're going.
Well, get a Yeti and you're all good, man. Just get one of those little small Yetis. That shit here be good. In fact, it might be too cold at that point.
What about, while I grab another beer, do you want one of the bottles or just anything?
Player's choice.
All right. What do you guys say about flying? Recommendations?
So I'm
for
actually doing
flying?
this soon, and I've done this many times now. Ziploc bag. You know, if it's a bottle, put a little electrical tape around the top, like you were saying for the growlers. Put that in a Ziploc bag, press out as much air as you can, seal the Ziploc bag, wrap it in a t-shirt, shorts, jeans, something like that, and try and make sure you don't have 2 bottles knocked against each other, anything like that. The concern with flying is that if it breaks and your suitcase gets wet and TSA sees a wet spot on your suitcase, guess what? Your suitcase just got pulled. It's not illegal to fly with beer. It's perfectly totally okay to fly with beer. But if your suitcase shows sign of visible wetness, they might open it up and investigate, and that's going to slow down you getting your luggage back, and they might screw with stuff.
For sure.
You might have beers disappear. I know people who have had beers disappear on them from the TSA.
I have had, when I was traveling, them leaving those nice little notes saying like, hey, your bag was searched, and I'll never be able to prove it, but I'm pretty sure a couple of my cans were missing.
But if
And
you
I've
keep it
gone
in a
back and forth
Ziploc
to
bag,
Denver.
then you don't have to worry about your clothes smelling like beer or your suitcase getting wet.
I think
those are.
I had a bottle crunch on me once, and
Yeah.
that was
For sure. I think
all the clothes dry cleaned.
See, I had that happen, but it was in the Ziploc bag, so I was
Right.
still okay. You know, I had a Ziploc bag full of water and broken glass, but
Sure. I think the number one thing, if you're dealing with individual bottles that you buy and you're dealing with, so let's rewind, because I was going to say, I've actually traveled literally with a full just box of beer. You know, with my bottles were in there. This was a check bag. I wasn't obviously going through TSA with a box of beer like that, but I would check in my bag. I had just a full box on there, 12 bottles. I did all the above things. Sometimes there was cans, might have been other stuff, but so the dividers are in there. Definitely the tape on the top. That was probably number one for most. It's just a good safety precaution. Number two, definitely you want some layers of protection between your stuff and those beer bottles. The two definitely are plastic and then cloth material to do some level of absorption if you have that. I would take those boxes, I'd wrap them in a trash bag, put a towel around that thing, another trash bag around that. I had a big duffel bag, military, you know, so
Right.
yeah, man, those. And the bag is going to get jostled around. I mean, it's going to get bumped. But I mean, I'm telling you, and then lots of tape.
The
It
garbage
was
bags
literally
are key to me.
yes.
Every time I do that, even if I'm driving, I garbage bag it now, like just in case.
It's worth it to do at some point, but I think those are the two major pieces. Is usually creating some kind of barrier for each of the individual bottles. You can certainly buy all kinds of fancy bottle cases now.
that's what I was going to say. If you want to throw in some money, my parents found one time it was a wine bottle thing. It was plastic with bubble wrap on the inside. You can create a complete seal. And like you were saying earlier, you can buy suitcases. I don't think there's one for beer yet, but there's plenty for wine. And it's mostly like foam that's cut out in the shape of a bottle, but those will work for 12-ounce bottles or bombers, or you could throw 2 cans in there. And it's specially designed suitcase with like a hard shell and things like that.
So let me throw out one that's a quick, I haven't gone in there in a while. It's pretty cheap though, especially if you want to get some bulk and divvy out amongst some people, especially guys trading. And if you got a bunch of people, you probably have a stock of things now, because anybody that gets packaging material from, if you order online, Craft Beer King, or was it Craft Shack, Craft Beer Kings, Plaza, whatever. All those, you're going to get what you're going to get typically is something packaged nicely, you know, and there's a lot of just straight, not fancied up, but just plastic material that fits in boxes. Go to Uline. It's packaging of all. God bless America. Everything packaging is Uline. They have a lot of those bottle shippers and packaging material in there that if you go in and like a one-time hit for some people together, oh, it's cheap. It's like you'll have a bunch of it, but it's cheap and you're ready to go, and you don't have to get the super fancy stuff.
It's important to remember that any checked bag is like $20 now. Your second checked bag is like $40, and you got to worry about the weight. Last time I went to California, it was cheaper for me to ship myself a box bag.
That was just going to be my next question.
And I do have one of those nice. It's a big 12 bottle shipper, it'll hold 12 750s, and it was like I think $30 in shipping when it would have been $35 for the second bag. Plus, it was probably going to be overweight.
So if you know anybody that does,
And it's not technically legal to ship beer, so we don't encourage shipping beer.
I just heard this from a friend of mine, not this friend or this friend. If you know anybody that does Tavor, definitely talk to them. If they're not a trader and don't ship stuff out, ask them to save their boxes. Those guys, they're like tanks, man. They come in, they're super tight, thick. I mean, my bottles come pristine. I don't do as much as Tavor anymore, but when they've come, have always been really solid. So if you know anybody using that, that's a good spot for maybe getting some extra material. But yeah, shipping is definitely the way to go. You run some of this, you run your risks of things, but you got to, if you put your stuff together. But these companies are shipping beer, so there is packaging available.
Right.
That's just there to be had for free without going batshit crazy trying to grab special deals or whatever. Unless you just have really something special, then
it is actually illegal to ship beer via USPS. UPS and FedEx just frown upon it, and if they find out it's beer, they'll probably throw away your package, but they're not going to give you a felony or anything.
Well, and some of these guys Tavor must use some kind of shipping company or something, because it comes from.
And they have a license to sell beer. I mean,
also true, for sure.
I don't.
Right.
Which didn't they? I think they just legalized that in Ohio, that you can now get. I think
Kentucky just changed. Ohio's had it for quite a while.
Okay.
What, delivery?
Yeah. Delivery.
Ohio's had it for quite a while. I think Kentucky just flipped.
Supposedly the USPS won't. I was listening to NPR and they were talking about this. And this had to do with the drug trade, but Senator was talking about how USPS will not inspect packages, but like DHL and FedEx and so on will, which we did some stories about this out at the airport, that they have at the DHL hub, they have a whole basically crime lab to look through everybody's stuff. So
Right.
I think, but with all of it, it's a roll of the dice, and you have to remember, as Tom said, that it's technically not illegal.
I may or may not have used USPS to ship barbecue sauce before.
Olive oil.
Actually,
I'm Italian. I'm a big fan of olive oil.
A workaround that I've seen a lot of traders use is that if you want to be above board, you tell them that you're shipping yeast samples, or specifically live yeast samples, and then you can request to have an adult signature. And that'll also, if you are doing trades and stuff, to me that's just a good practice of making sure that it requires a signature to accept delivery, because otherwise you'll get into situations where, well, if somebody steals the delivery or it gets broken, then we got one guy asking you for a ton of money for a beer that you're supposed to send, or
I'm sure people have
vice versa.
Heartbreaking stories about that stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh
Been
yeah.
there, done that.
That might be a whole show for another day.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a final quick question: beer travel city, best beer travel city. And I'll add the caveat to bring beer back.
Just one.
Just one.
Gotta be a travel man.
Denver. I'm just thinking, to bring beer back, distribution. Denver gets a lot of stuff that.
And there's a lot of stuff around Denver that you can. I mean, if you're not talking about just that city, because you got who's doing the fruity bits.
Casey.
No, that's Kate. No, Casey's doing the fruit stand. The bits and bolts. It's Oh shoot!
But I was thinking like Firestone Walker, for instance.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's available,
right?
Or a Russian River. You can get Russian River in Colorado.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
for
you
sure.
could go to
yeah,
San Diego,
that's one of the spots. Yeah.
But you'd lose out on some other stuff. So I would say.
Plus, there's just so many good breweries around the Denver Boulder area.
So many reasons to go to Denver, anyways. But if I was gonna fly somewhere just to bring beer back, to bring a wide variety of beer from a bunch of breweries, I'd go to Denver.
I probably really couldn't argue with that. I mean, that's the same as distribution point. I mean, it's right there. That would probably be I was going to say Colorado, like just, somewhere in that general area that you could hit a spot, Gotta love San Diego, though, just in general. I mean,
yeah. That was my first thought.
There's a lot of stuff there, like from a beer city standpoint. I mean, San Diego just has breweries galore. I'm not saying they're all whatever, but just saying they have a lot to pick from. You got some big names there. You can pop out from San Diego and still hit some cool spots without going, even real far out, if you want to travel, then sure, you can go,
I mean, Stone, Alpine, Green Flag.
That's all right there.
Society, you know.
I know somebody kill me, right? It's horrible beer. So, but there's some other good, there's some other cities that I think, from a smaller aspect, depending on what you're looking for. If you're trying to go for all the big heavy hitters and all that jazz, then sure, yeah, I mean, you got to pick somewhere like those kind of towns.
I kind of want to say Portland, Maine, because that's 2 hours to Boston.
Yes.
So you can go to Portland and get Allagash and Maine Beer Company and Billson Brothers and stuff. Drive 2 hours down to Boston to get Trillium.
From the east side standpoint, the East Coast has got a lot of nice stuff happening there.
I was gonna say Burlington, Vermont would be another good one because you're kind of right in the middle there.
It's
getting everything.
3 or 4 hours, I think, from Burlington to Portland.
You're even still popping down to you're still even not too far from Richmond, Virginia.
That's from there.
Is that right far?
Yeah, I think that's like 8 hours or something.
Wow, that's not that far, man. If it's under 10 hours, that's not that far.
Admittedly, this
that's
is
a day trip.
This city's a little, I guess, done. I'd still have to bring Asheville up just because, like, in addition to the great, like, they don't have as many, but they've got great breweries there. And then, like, I don't go to Bruising Ales anymore. I can no longer recommend them.
Appalachian Vintner and
Tasty's my go-to place.
Good.
Like
Appalachian Vintner has a little bigger selection.
Well, I like Tasty because they've got the tasting bar there. The guys are really cool. And then not just for the beer, but they've got a lot of like knickknacks and stuff. Like if you want to get some glassware from Allagash or who makes the Mexican cake down there in Atlanta, Westbrook. You want to get something from there. They've got like all the beer swag from all over, and then I've found like that's honestly where when I get Allagash, it's all from Tasty.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little my problem is a dumb problem. Last time I was at Tasty's, like, oh, you're the dude from Cincinnati. What's your friend with the big red beers? Like, oh, I come here way too much, man. I come here way too much.
Pretty much. I think Cincinnati could annex Asheville, and there wouldn't be much of a fight.
We have a lot. Yeah, we have a lot of folks that travel down there. I think that Asheville, I'd have to give some points just from ambiance of the area. When you're down there, it's
there's so much to do.
Sometimes, it's not just about the beer. There's hiking to be done. There's a lot of great eating to be done.
On the river.
Hit the river. I mean, you're all over down there, and nice. The weather's nice. Area's nice. So you got the Greenway through there. Biltmore Estates is right there. So you have a lot of cool stuff that's there. It's just got its own vibe. If you haven't been down there, it's got its own vibe.
6 hours, 6 hour drive.
Right,
unfortunately, I don't know how many more breweries we'll see get started up down there because I just don't think they have the population size to support it. I'd like to see some more, but then again, you've got
I'd like to see some better ones.
Hold on. Before we start talking about Asheville with that, Cincinnati's got its own problems with that one.
A lot of cities do these.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of places have things opening up, and some people get some licks and have some nice stuff, and then some people don't. I mean, that's business. That's not beer. That's not food. That's business on that level. So. I mean, Cincinnati, when you look at some of the stuff popping up, we have some, nice fledgling vibe coming up. We're not in Nashville, we're not San Diego, we're not Portland, Maine, or Oregon.
Thank God we're not Cleveland.
We're not, isn't that always the case? Even Seattle, Washington. I mean, Seattle's got a very nice, vibrant beer scene, man. Great city. Like, if you want to talk about a solid city to go visit, besides I got the Jimi Hendrix thing, that's all that's great. But again, a great place to go have some beer and do something else besides like sit on your butt and just have to drink beer.
Well, then how would you guys rate Cincinnati as a beer destination? Because that like in GCCBS, that gets talked about all the time. Like, I'm sure I'm so much hated for my anti-local homerism.
I think we have to understand what destination means. I think we're a good travel city because we're a hub. So Cincinnati's always been very vibrant, at least from a business side of things, and had a nice hub. We're on the travel, interstates. So we have that destination. I mean, that'd probably be. That's a little bit of a stretch, I think. We have some really nice action happening.
good places to visit for people when they're here. It's certainly not a bad city to come to. It's like you don't go to Cincinnati and be like, I ain't shit to do. If you say that, well then there's just something else is wrong. But good stuff to go do. Lots of cool spots to hit that are within easy travel distance. We don't really have a beer district
Right.
so much.
We don't have a south slope.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm not saying we have to have one, but we don't. So it's a hoop
I mean,
around
if you look
to
at
get.
San Diego. San Diego's pretty spread out on their breweries. You're not walking to 8 breweries in San Diego.
Not exactly, no.
But San Diego's also 70 degrees year round.
Right.
It's 95
So
outside right
when
now.
you're getting around Cincinnati, you can hit pockets of places and hit some nice spots. You can hit. I gotta give a shout out to my Central Corridor folks. You got. I mean, even just right there even if you start at Rheingeist, or even Taft's if you want to go deeper. But within that corridor right there, you hit Taft's, you hit Rheingeist, pop on up to Urban. The new spot's opening up, which is the Merry Monks or whatever.
The Happy Monks?
Happy Monks.
Yes. Humble Monk.
Humble Monks. Just right there. Just I'm saying, something happening right there. Little beer stores in there too. I'm not even just talking about the breweries.
The Listing Loon.
For the beer stores, yeah.
Down by
But
there.
but as far as the breweries go, then you're coming up with Brink. They would put some nice stuff out. I just had their Northeast IPA Afterglow and Factually Late. Both beers got crushed, solid. And then I got the Fib up there. Bob and Betty do a nice job over in their spot. They're doing some different things. Very laid back neighborhood kind of vibe. It's not this. It's not your. It's not your other shit. Yeah, it's not that. Which is nothing wrong with that.
It's
I'm
not
saying
30
it's not
people
that.
on a rooftop.
They've been really, their stuff's improved. They just had their second anniversary stop through there. They had a mulberry tart
Really
ale.
enjoyable.
Solid, yeah. Several other things anyway. So just all through there, and then even shooting up, you got some stuff going on up north. Even within that central kind of 75 piece up there. Swine City's getting ready to open up.
Grainworks.
They'll do their thing, yeah, for sure. Shooting off into Blue Ash. I mean, there's just that's not in not downtown or not in some of the particular areas. Again,
Well, I think
nothing wrong
you
with
hit the
that,
nail on
but
the
just
head
saying,
there. Is that Cincinnati we've got so many breweries now, but it's little pockets everywhere.
Well, I mean, you kind of look at
pockets.
Woodburn and the East End.
Right.
It's about an 8-minute drive from Woodburn to Streetside, and it's I think I timed it to like 5-minute, 30-second walk from Streetside to Blank Slate.
Exactly.
And then it's a few more minutes to that other place. And then a few more minutes to 50 West.
Right.
And so, that's an easy afternoon you could do.
Exactly. They're not. We don't have a. When you say destination, when you say destination, then you have a shopping community, you have food, you have beer, entertainment, all of it right there. We have OTR, but the breweries have not invested, and I don't want to slight anybody. I mean, Rheingeist is right there, Taft's is right there, but when you look at
Moreline is hanging in there.
On the far end, I don't
the lager house or the malt house.
Yeah, sort of.
Still kind of on the street.
Not so much OTR though. I mean, depending on how you're breaking it up, kind of. And I don't mean to exclude anybody. The bottom line is what we don't have a real eclectic type brew pub downtown. We don't have certain breweries going in and doing food things and doing certain vibes down there. They're doing food.
Right.
Mad Tree has. The pizza has Catch a Fire. Taft's does their food, so you can, I've made my argument about brew pub and restaurant with beer.
Tasty tots.
So, for sure, love the food there. Great beers too. So you have those things going on, but we're not seeing an investment on the brewery side of those things. Plenty of places to go get beer. Lots of cool spots to get a variety of stuff. Alcohol in general, which is, I like alcohol in general, not just the beer, but there's lots of good places
I've got the
to get
bourbons
beers.
for you behind.
Well, yeah, that way, as long as there's no tequila here, I'll make it out of here. Fair enough. But so there's a lot of cool, vibe happening around the city. It's just if we're going to get to destination, we have to tie in transportation better. I want to go harp on that, but transportation has to be better. And then you have to centralize, things where people are there and they don't have to go very far to do things.
Right.
If you look at any of the major cities that were just talked about, they have all of those things in some combination within their space. So
everything's connected.
In a sense, yes, or it's convenient or close to. I mean, you can go down to Asheville and you don't have to leave Cox Avenue. You can start at the top, hit the Thirsty Monk, and then go down and you hit, the pizza, Asheville Pizza,
Yep.
High
There's
Wire
the
Trash,
Lab.
Twin Leaf.
yeah, Twin Leaf, we can go on. There's
Barrels just off
the bottle shops. Like you don't
Twin
have to
Leaf,
go
Green
anywhere
Man.
else,
Right.
and there's still other
Green
places to
Man's
go.
a half a block away.
High Wire.
There's still other places to go,
I
and
mean-
that's just that one street.
Well, in
Right.
Cleveland,
We
like
don't
downtown
have that
Cleveland,
here.
they've got.
We don't have a street to walk down and say, hey, I could hit boom, 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 and not go anywhere else and make it that
so
day.
Wilmington, North Carolina. Where the fuck is Wilmington, North Carolina? It's a small town on the coast in southwest North Carolina. I'm going there this weekend. They have a river cutting through there, Cape Fear River or something, and there's like 5 or 6 breweries and bars and bottle shops right along this market street right against the river. We have a river, but we don't have a lot of stuff down there. Right? I mean, we've got a few mediocre bars, we've got the Lager House, but we could have a bunch of breweries right there. That would be a better destination.
I think, but here's on the flip side though. I think the fact is that we have a bunch of these neighborhood places popping up. I mean, I'm a neighborhood bar. I'm not, I'm not downtown in OTR trying to do whatever. I'm a neighborhood bar. Fibonacci's a neighborhood kind of brewery. Even urban, a little bigger in their standpoint from the distribution, but Brink is neighborhoody. From again, just picking my stuff that's within my.
Well, that's been their whole goal,
context,
is to be like in the neighborhood hub.
Who's the cat? The cats that just opened up over in Loveland, Narrow Path. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they're doing their thing there. Even Swine City is looking at their thing. I
Yeah,
don't
they're
think that
very
just because I
focused
know
on
that because
Fairfield.
I've just talked to those guys. They're there. 50 is even kind of centric to their area, even though they do.
Well,
their
see,
thing,
I
but
think
they're-
50 is the best kind of example. I'm gonna get all this hate for loving on 50 again, but they're the best kind of example of really what you're talking about. Is that that the Salaru family really did make an investment into creating a hub around themselves for those very issues that you're talking about. Like that, I mean, they owned several of the businesses along the way, but Bobby saw the potential there. So you had the brew pub, and then they opened up the cyclery, they opened up the kayak center, and now they've got the production facility after closing down Hahana Beach and making it the production center. But they own Pizzelli's, and I know a couple
That's
other
just baller.
things
That's
down
all I
there.
gotta say. That's just baller.
Oh, yeah,
the whole
but
thing is
no,
just
it's-
cool, within its
really-
context.
And if you look at like a lot of the Brewdog is a perfect example of this. Is that it's no longer enough to just open up a brewery in somewhere and
just
make
do a tap room with nothing going
Yeah,
on.
and just have a tap room with nothing around it. You have to build a culture there. Like a Woodburn is another good example of like it's a tap room bar, but then they've got the food option, but they've also worked very hard to incorporate the other businesses there around them to make a whole little community there.
Streetside does that too. On the east side's got a real community kind of. Cincinnati's built that way. We all are neighborhoods. What high schools you go to and all that kind of jazz, all the shit we know about. So we have our little pockets. Cincinnati, we don't really like to drive 15 minutes. Like if it's over 15 minutes, all of a sudden it's like, man, bro, you're taxing me, man. Like the gas.
I was just trying to get my friends over in Northern Kentucky to come over here. Like, forget about
crazy,
it.
I know.
But-
So anyway, like that's where a lot of us thrive, from that aspect. So that's cool. But I think that's something that within the context of destination, back to what we were talking about anyway, the destination piece, downtown though is where that's where the destination has to happen. I mean, it could be some other spots. If it does, it'll be normal Cincinnati Bass Ackwards if that's what happens. But really, it should be, downtown. We should right on the trolley. Like you should be able to just you should be handing me a map right now. And I should be going, I'm going to go to boom, 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 boom on this little thing and get a punch and then bam, there
Cincinnati
I am.
Ale Trail. Somebody's got to make it happen.
The brew bus does have a. The brew bus does have a.
And it's cool that we're doing that. We've got it there. I'm just saying for destination,
right? You have to have the walkability.
You can't have to rely on a bus tour to get you around or some kind of big tour like that. It's great that we have those. All those guys that do those are super good guys, man. We have a great community of people that are at least getting around to the breweries and exposure, and some of the bar owners and different people, the reps are out there. We get 50 West beers over at the Lucky Turtle. I mean, that's 25, 30 minutes away for anybody living over there.
Right.
So how often are they going to get over there? They do here and there, but for the not the hardcore, but the people more invested in going to drink beer. But otherwise, people aren't going to get out and try all these beers except for the distribution aspect. If they can get in there and have an area, that's there and has them all, man, I'm telling you. Then we get destination. Then people are wanting to come. Amongst some other things, we got sports. I mean, we have a lot of other great things in Cincinnati that the beer isn't going to be the only piece of that. You know, that's why I said Asheville. I mean, you can talk about the beer bar, but I'm talking about going up in the mountains and going doing some hikes, you know, walking around, checking out some other little joints.
The food.
You got the food for sure, other things. Biltmore, you know, San Diego. Well, shoot, you got the beach and 20 bajillion other things going on. Seattle, I mentioned that one just because they got great music scene, all kind of stuff going on. That the beer is great.
Food scene.
World-class food scene for sure. So. Even go down south. Do you like to go to Atlanta? I mean, you know, Atlanta, they got all kind of stuff going on besides the construction. But you know, different stuff happening down there.
There's really not as much construction as you might think. It's just a show of traffic.
Except
for when part of the highway abruptly drops.
Well, yeah. Besides that, but even take the east, take the whole northeast up there, man. There's some. My wife's up in New Hampshire, from New Hampshire, man. They got great food up there. Lots of great, obviously the beers. You know, different stuff happening. So. You know, man, just pick your direction. Michigan, for crap's sake, just go to the state of Michigan.
Well, any final thoughts, recommendations for people as they prepare to take all their Cincinnati beer out on vacation before school starts up again and we all get back to our lives?
I'll still be doing the same thing. I have more free time when my kids go to school.
It's family travel time. It's family travel time.
It is. No, you know, I think it's, you know, depending on what level you're at of if you're into trading or trying to grab stuff, you know, just be prepared. You'll always grab more than you think you're going to grab. So if you think you're grabbing, either have a budget and decide how much you're going to exceed it. And because that's usually what happens. But yeah, always just have some space. If you're driving, not too bad of a deal, but bring carriers still. If you're
don't rely on the breweries to have carriers for you.
Oh, the hell no.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, God.
Don't,
sometimes
don't do that.
Do your own thing. Yeah, do your own thing. Yeah. But yeah, if you're flying, shoot, there's all kind of packaging material out there. Easy stuff you can get. You can ship.
And if you do fly, like, don't wait till the last minute if you didn't bring packaging with you, to go get it. I made that mistake.
Yeah.
One of the last times I went to Denver, like, have it with you or just be willing to let go of some things when you have to go back to the airport.
Right.
So I had a very nice Delta lady who lifted up the bag to make sure that I got under the weight limit. So props to Delta.
That's funny.
Well, I think that's it for this show. Thanks for joining us, and we're gonna get our video issues figured out here. But if you have any comments or other recommendations for fellow beer fans, please feel free to chime in via the comments, and we'll have another show coming up soon.
And many thanks to Frank from the Lucky Turtle for joining us.
For sure.
Peace.